Hi, everybody. It's 3 o'clock, so let's get started. Turn down a little feedback. My name is Neil Wyszynski, and I'm the chair of the Brookline Board of Selectmen, which is the statutory issuing authority for the Comcast license. And I'll be chairing this afternoon's Ascertainment hearing. And I'll tell you a little bit about what an ascertainment hearing is, but let me first introduce a few people who are in the room today. First is actually, let's first talk about what an ascertainment hearing is. Okay, we'll get this right. So this hearing is mandated by the renewal provisions of the Federal Cable Act. The current cable license held by Comcast will expire on April 30th, 2016. So the town is currently involved in a federally required process called ascertainment. So the purpose of this hearing is to hear from all of you to identify, one, the future cable-related community needs and interests, and to review the performance of Comcast under its current cable television license. And once we've gathered the community input, and that's what this hearing is about, to hear from you about Comcast and what you think of Comcast and where we should be going with our license renewal process. Once the town has gathered the community input, we will forward the results to Comcast. Thus, the testimony that you give here today is very important, and I encourage all of you to speak candidly and specifically about any cable-related matters. In order for your views to count, we're going to ask you to come up to the podium, and when you're speaking at the podium, I would ask that you first identify yourself, give your name and address, and because this is an ascertainment, and your testimony will then be taken down by a transcriber, and it will become part of the official record. And because this is an ascertainment hearing for the town, I ask that you not pose direct questions for Comcast, but to direct all your testimony to me, the chair. And that'll make things go a lot smoother. Comcast is not prepared to answer questions, though you can pose questions, and perhaps we can get answers going into the future. And then I'd like to clarify that while this is an ascertainment hearing on cable television matters, there are two related subjects over which the Board of Selectmen has no authority to regulate. The first is the rates that Comcast charges. So if you have complaints about the rates, there's nothing we can do about that. The second is the commercial programming that Comcast chooses to show on its cable system. I realize that these are important issues for cable subscribers, but there's not much we can do about it. Well, you can voice the complaints, and there is a representative of Comcast who will hear them, and I think customer service, I would hope, is something they're interested in. But whether or not that can be part of our negotiation is another issue. And while you're free to comment on these matters, we can't mandate the specific rates, nor can we mandate which channels Comcast carries. And another thing we can't really regulate is internet and telephone. So, but I would encourage you, if you have complaints about those, to say it, and the Comcast represent. So let me introduce some of the people who are in the room tonight. First, there's a group of citizens who are going to be part of the team dealing with Comcast, and it's the Cable TV Advisory Committee members. I'm chairing the group. Mel Kleckner, the town administrator, is part of the group. He's in the back. Melissa Goff, the deputy town administrator, to my right. Austin Faison, the assistant town administrator. He's in the back. Kathy Bisby, who's the Brookline Interactive Group executive director. Kevin Stokes, who's the Brookline chief information officer. He's not here. He'll be here later on. Frank Cairo, who's a citizen representative, and Melissa Trevette, who's another citizen representative. And lastly, let me introduce the representative from Cablevision, Comcast. I have Cablevision on my mind. Tim Kelly, who I'm sure will be happy to hear all your comments. So, yes. Okay, with those introductory comments, I'm going to open the hearing up for comments and testimony from the public. We have a sign-in sheet that's been circulated. Okay, I'm going to ask Kathy Bisby to go first. I'm going to be asking, since we have a lot of people in the room who I think want to speak, I'm going to ask that you keep your comments to 3 to 5 minutes. At the 3-minute mark, I'm going to hold a sign up 3 minutes. And at the 5-minute at the 5-minute mark, I'm going to hold a sign up for 5 minutes. And in that way, we can hopefully get to everybody, and everyone will be treated fairly. So, Ms. Bisby?
Thank you, Neil. Good afternoon. Thank you so much to our honorable town selectmen, the town, Comcast representatives, our cable advisory committee members, and to the members of the public who have come out today in support of community media in Brookline. I'm Kathy Bisby. I'm a Brookline resident, 60 Gorham Ave, and I'm the executive director of the Brookline Interactive Group, formerly known as BATV. I'm here to ask Comcast for some specific needs for Brookline and to let them know of this incredible resource that this community and its residents have built in Big. This is a community that thinks big with a vision for the future, a community that values critical thinking, all forms of literacy, supports independent local media, and a passion for creativity, and that created the Brookline Interactive Group out of its need as a community seeking knowledge and facilitating dialogue through media. A need to develop 21st century media literacy for our youth. A need to support community nonprofit organizations in having a voice, in sharing their good works, in making sure that underrepresented parts of their community have a voice through local media. A need to have a media platform to discuss and distribute content from important community discussions like town meeting, election forums, big ideas from speakers presenting at various organizations and town partners like TEDx Beacon Street, the library, the Community Foundation, the school district, and many others. It is a community that supports quality education starting at an early age and continuing as lifelong learners. And Big responded to these needs. Big's educational programs exceed those found at other media centers. We had over 600 youth in our media programs in 2014 and have added a K-8 program this year, and we'll have 14 after-school programs in the fall. Big has widespread support and an active, engaged membership that uses its facilities. In fact, we have over 230 visitors every day, and 112 of them are adults. Over 75% of our field equipment is checked out regularly, and we have 16 studio shows and growing being shot every month at Big, and many more hours of content being shot and edited out in the field. We have new programs, and I've included, and I'd like to submit for the public record, our 2014 annual report. There's one of your seats or at the front. that will engage the community this year even further than before, and we need to be securely funded for years to come. BIG is a national model for community media, and we're invited to present all around the country as leaders in our field. What are we asking from Comcast? Other towns and cities across the country have HD channels. Manhattan, Longmeadow, Massachusetts, Philadelphia, Portland, Oregon, Cambridge, Massachusetts, Vancouver, Washington, and St. Paul, Minnesota have recently successfully negotiated with Comcast to get HD channels in their community. Why not in Brookline? Our content is being shot in HD, but we must down convert it to provide a feed for Comcast. RCN is moving us to HD, and we request that Comcast provides HD in Brookline as a possible additional pilot in the Boston area. Closed captioning. Pursuant to federal rules, broadcasters and video programming distributors like Comcast are required to provide closed captioning for most English and Spanish language video programs shown on TV. However, the SEC made an exception for local educational programming, and currently we do not have closed captioning on our public access channels. BIG and the community feels that Comcast should do the right thing to ensure that the entire community is able to access our programs on cable television, no matter what language or abilities community members may have. We would like to offer translation services, SAP, and closed captioning to our community. Adding our channels to the Comcast Cable Program Guide. Citizens cannot find BIG's programming on Comcast Program Guide. Why is this? In a day when Comcast can provide so many high-tech services to its customers, but hasn't created yet a tool to enable community media centers to data enter local programs. This is unfair to our community. Residents don't watch channels by flipping through channels themselves to find a program. They go to the program guide and look for something that's of interest to them. How can community media centers provide residents with access if they can't find our local programs on Comcast? Viewers cannot DVR BIG's local content because of this. In this day and age where many viewers watch television by video on demand, this is a huge disservice to our community and to your customers. We ask that Comcast add us to its program guide or fund BIG to build an app to create our own program guide for our community's use. We'd also like to ask for access to viewership information. Without viewership information, we cannot gain adequate data, thank you, I'll be wrapping up in just 1 second, to understand and promote our community television programs, to gain sponsorship dollars to support our operations, and Comcast could provide this information to us. And I'd like to just end with our big request is really fully funding our very active and very used community media center on both operational and capital fronts at the same levels as 10 years ago, despite an increased cost in doing business in 2015. So I want to thank you again for your time and consideration, and for everyone for showing up today to support BIG and to support community access to media in Brookline. On behalf of the hundreds of residents, town committees, businesses, youth, families, and nonprofit organizations that we work with and benefit from community media in Brookline, I urge the town to strongly urge Comcast to meet our community's needs for full continued funding, access to the program guide, closed captioning, and HD channels. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up is Celinda Shannon, and after that is Betsy Freunthal. So Betsy, get ready to be right after Celinda.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Celinda Shannon. I'm the Executive Director of the Brookline Chamber of Commerce. See some friendly faces out there. I just have a letter I wanted to read to everyone, and this is addressed to Neil and the rest of the selectmen. Dear Mr. Wyszynski and Board of Selectmen, on behalf of the Brookline Chamber and the Brookline business community, I'd like to express our ardent support for the Brookline Interactive Group, BIG. BIG has been a longtime partner and friend to the Chamber over the years. They have hosted important Chamber meetings and enabled us to use their space for events and special functions. They provided the opportunity for our business members to make public service announcements, and they have always been willing to lend a hand to the Chamber when asked. I know members of the Board of Selectmen and people at this hearing are familiar with many services that BIG offers, so I won't take the time to elaborate on that. But I would like to reiterate that what an important and valuable community resource BIG is for the entire Brookline community. With new, experienced, and talented leadership at the helm and a strong track record of growing community support and involvement, we strongly urge you to support their requests for funding and programming, specifically with regard to providing community channel programming in HD and including detailed programming listings for BIG in Comcast program guide, as well as funding for closed captioning. The Brookline Chamber looks forward to a long and lasting relationship with BIG, and we hope you'll support them with full funding for operations and capital budgets at the same level to which BIG has been supported in the past. Respectfully submitted, me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Betsy Freunthal, and after that is Al Davis.
Good afternoon. I'm Betsy Frauenthal, and I am the Executive Director of the Brookline Music School. We at the Brookline Music School value the Brookline Interactive Group, BIG, as both a project partner and a supplier of services. As a partner, we have been part of the Be Bear Book Club production, and as you probably know, the Brookline Early Education Program, which is BEEP, and BIG, originally developed the Be Bear Book Club show to strengthen reading literacy for young children. Since its inception, the show has expanded and now includes other aspects of literacy, one of which is music literacy. BMS feels honored to be part of the music literacy component of the Be Bear Book Club. We are most impressed with the creativity that Beep and Big bring to the production and believe this series offers an incredible resource for the children in our community. In fact, as technology evolves and cable morphs into some new innovation that we might not even know what that is yet, or is just replaced more and more by internet streaming, we feel strongly that BIG should have the opportunity to show all of their shows, such as Be Bear Book Club, and make them accessible to young children regardless of the way that gets to each of our homes in Brookline. As a supplier, BIG has offered BMS numerous services. They film things for us, they've aired our public service announcements, they've trained us not only on their equipment but on our much simpler equipment, which we are not nearly as good at as they are on their equipment. And they have come to some of our bigger events like our spring recital festival and our 90th birthday concert, and generously spent their afternoons and sometimes into the evening filming us and then turning them into wonderful YouTube and CDs for us to then share with our community. As a provider to and consumer of BIG services, we want to ensure that BIG has the future means to operate effectively in our community and to update its infrastructure to keep pace with changes in the delivery of media to homes and businesses in Brookline. Before I close, I just want to also say that sort of with a different hat on, I'm a member of the Commission for the Arts in Brookline, and I know that that's another organization that strongly supports BIG. We have begun to work with them on some potential visual arts programming, including possibly an open mic program, and so I'm sure there will be more to come, but that's another organization who supports BIG. So in closing, I would like to extend my support and thanks to the leadership and staff of BIG for both playing such an integral role in our community media center and for supporting Brookline in such a professional way. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Al Davis, and after that is Matt Weiss. So Matt, you're on deck. Mr. Davis.
So thank you. Full disclosure, I'm on the executive board for Brookline Interactive Group, and I've been on the board for 9 years, so I'm their longest standing board member. And I think that actually speaks a lot towards the contributions of a Brookline Interactive Group, because my motivation for being on the board is community. Having lived in Brookline for 40 years, it provides just a wonderful opportunity for me to help out our community and try to build our community. And I support everything that Kathy said in her opening remarks, because BIG is such an important piece of the community, as you're hearing from various people that are coming up here. We're not just an entertainment center, we're enriched our community with education, support, helping people learn how to deal with the media of today and become more comfortable in social media. These are wonderful attributes that the station has been able to contribute to the community. And speaking on a personal level, when I first joined BIG, we really had only the rudimentary pieces of a cable access station. We were in such disarray. And to look at what we've been able to do and build this program over the last 9 years is really, truly amazing. And back to the bowels of the Lincoln School with very few assets and very little following, we were able to create a goal and a mission statement to join Brookline Interactive Group with education and reach out further into the community. With the help of Dr. Lupini and Dr. Weintraub, who's the headmaster at the time of Brookline High School, we were able to bring BIG into the Brookline High School and integrate and share our facility with students. This is an amazing gift that we've been able to provide to this community. You have to be there to really understand it, to see what's going on. And as a side note, my personal joy in this whole matter was that we got our build out into the high school, and my son, who was an 8th grader, came to me at the end of his 8th grade year, showed me his curriculum for the following year at the high school, and pointed out to me that he was going to be one of the first students to take advantage of the co-education that Brookline Access Television at the time was going to take part with the high school. So he was in the initial class that taught media, taught video production. He's now a communications major at University of Massachusetts. He's gotten involved with volunteering for the station, giving into the community. These are such important attributes that we can either experience it directly, which I did, or we could just experience it through all the other ways that we can interface with Brookline Interactive Group. I'd like to say that it's extremely important that our programming is listed on Comcast. Extremely important. It's almost like being in the dark by not having the ability for our programming to be seen by the community. The community wants our programming as much as any other programming that Comcast offers. It's extremely important that we move into the world of high definition. YouTube has high definition. Every media has high definition. We, as mentioned, shoot in HD and should be able to take advantage of that as another way to communicate to our community. Same thing goes with closed captioning. That's just exclusionary if we don't have it. So it only makes sense to add something of that importance. And lastly, the funding needs to continue. This is such an important idea for Comcast to understand that part of who they are, part of being in our community is contributing to our community and building and building and building and allowing Brookline Interactive Group to keep up what it's doing and do it even better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. I'd ask that if you're reading from a written statement, if you can hand the written statement to the stenographer afterwards, that would be great. Mr. Weiss, and the next up after Mr. Weiss is Frank Cairo.
I don't have any written statement. I'm a host of a program on BIG. The AgeFriendly Cities television program. We've done 2, and we plan to continue doing every month starting in September. The AgeFriendly City, in case you don't know, Brookline in 2012 was declared by the World Health Organization the first community in New England to be declared on their network of age-friendly cities. Brookline keeping that up, one of the things the Age-Friendly Cities Committee, which was established by the Board of Selectmen in 2012, one of the things the committee did was form a television program to inform the town all about what's happening in the area of age-friendliness for Brookline and what's happening in Brookline. So I'm not speaking for the seniors, but I'm certainly speaking after talking to a number of them and thinking a lot about what they need. And Comcast and BIG is something they need. BIG, they need to be able to access the guide. They need to be able to know what program is on, what town programs are on, what council meetings are on, etc. And they need to be able to get that the way they get every other program on Comcast is through the guide. So I would recommend, at least to Comcast, that be installed. I don't know why it isn't. The other thing is HD. Everybody uses their DVR, and everybody also, more important, automatically goes to HD and expects their programs to be there. So that's another thing I would certainly endorse. And I do endorse, we're very, very happy with what BIG has done for us, and I endorse BIG as an organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cairo, Frank Cairo, and after that is Ms. Trevette.
Hi, I'm Frank Carroll. I live at 1264 Beacon Street in Brookline. I'm a town meeting member. I'm here today speaking on behalf of former Brookline Committee, the Underground Wiring Committee. In 2005, Brookline adopted a comprehensive plan that included as one of the objectives the burying of all utility wires in town. I'm here today to ask that Comcast, which is a major user of overhead utility wires, that it take responsibility for burying the wires for one block, and that's a block on St. Paul Street between Freeman Street and Brown Street. It is a block where along Winthrop Square Park. I want to kind of talk a little bit about the kind of the general reasons and then some of the specifics why this location. I mean, first of all, overhead wires are an obnoxious feature of the residential environment. We in Brookline value our public right-of-way. The overhead wires detract from it. Comcast is a major a source of visual pollution because its wires are bigger, heavier, more prevalent than all of the other wires in town. Brookline has about 100 miles of streets. It's fortunate that 20% of the town has wires that are entirely buried along the streets, but most of the streets do have overhead wires. I have the following reason for wanting to suggest doing this along Winthrop Square Park, and I should say I had hoped today to show some slides showing pictures of the park. I mean, it's ironic in this highly sophisticated technological world that we today do not have the capability, the technical capability of showing the slides. I have a few copies of this, of the slides that I will submit, and perhaps it'll be possible to pass some of these copies around for people to look at. I should say about this location. One, this is a location in which basically the electrical wires are already underground. Comcast is taking advantage of some utility poles that are essentially there only for street lights, and it's something of an accident that these are wooden street lights. They're not the cement lights where there are cement poles, the wires are buried. So it's a kind of an accident that Comcast was able to attach its wires to these utility poles. The Winthrop Square Park is a particularly valued park. It is a historic park. It is one of 4 squares that was contributed to the town by David Sears. It is the only one that is degraded by the presence of overhead wires. The park is the site of the Minot Rose Garden, one of Brookline's great treasures. It also has a playground, which is very heavily used. So it is a location that attracts a lot of people, and it would be a particularly valuable contribution to the town if the wires were buried in that one location. I should say, as somebody who would like to see the wires buried all over town, it would be a wonderful step for Brookline to take this first step, the first in this century, to bury some wires, and we'd like Comcast to provide the financing for that project. Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa Trevette, and after Ms. Trevette is Peter Ames.
Melissa Trevette, 177 Babcock Street. I'm a member of the Cable Television Advisory Committee, and here today.
Speak into the mic.
Better? Thanks. And here today to speak as a customer of Comcast and a citizen of Brookline. I want to address two areas. The support needed from Comcast for the Brookline Interactive Group, or BIG, and attention by Comcast to its wiring around one of the premier parks of Brookline. The support that the Comcast license provides to the Brookline Interactive Group is critical to its growth and the impact that it can have on the community. I have valued the broadcast of the recent election forum and of the Brookline town meetings and other government meetings. It was particularly important to me that BIG transmitted the League of Women Voters sponsored election forum because I was an undecided voter and unable to attend the question-answer session in person. The ability of Brookline viewers easily to access the BIG channel and to learn what is showing cannot be overemphasized. This requires that the BIG channel be integrated into a customer's regular and routine viewing options. Integrating the BIG channel means that what BIG is airing has to appear in the program guide. When I hit the guide on my remote, I want to see the listing of programs that BIG is offering so that I can easily come across a subject or a title of a program instead of seeing a generic label, which is what I see now. Equally important is the need for Comcast to give BIG HD channels. The BIG channel's content, which is already produced in HD, needs to appear among the HD channels. Essentially, and I'm sure this is true for you, all of our viewing is essentially among the HD channels. And our new Comcast installation that we got as a result of our recent move automatically takes us to the HD alternative to any channel that has one. What this means is that when I browse among the HD channels, where the Brookline channel does not show up. My understanding is that Comcast has provided HD channels for other communities, and I hope that it will do this for Brookline. So support from Comcast to make these changes, to list BIG channel programs in the program guide, and to give BIG HD channels, and for Comcast to continue to provide operating and capital funding at current levels would contribute significantly to ensuring that the community has the access to this important local content. I also want to support the proposal that Frank Cairo just mentioned, the proposal that Comcast bury its wires around Winthrop Square Park, or along one side of Winthrop Square Park. I think this is a good choice. It's a very historic park, as he mentioned, and because of my recent move, I now walk by it or drive by it frequently, and it's amazing to me the amount of use that this park gets. It's also worth focusing on because the electrical service is underground already in this section of Brookline. So if the cable wiring is put underground as well, it will really improve the look of the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter Ames is next, and Roberta Winitzer is on deck. Mr. Ames? Call going once, then Ms. Winitzer. And after Ms. Winitzer is Henry Winkelman.
I particularly want to talk about the Age-Friendly Cities project and the reason that we are now producing a program to explain what it is that we're doing with regard to the Age-Friendly Cities project that is something that the selectmen immediately supported when it became obvious that WHO was doing this. It's kind of nice. You should know that one of the reasons Brookline is eligible is because of our public transportation system. So we're talking about communication, and we certainly talk about how we get around here in Brookline. It's important that you know that we chose to do this program to help everybody in the town understand what it is what the mission is for the Age-Friendly Cities program. So what we're doing is explaining the various parts of the various organizations and departments in town that make up and support the Age-Friendly Cities project. And for example, last month we explained the program, and then we talked about transportation. In September and October, you'll be able to see a program that emphasizes how the library works with the Age-Friendly Cities project. The way that you will know when the programs are being broadcast is if our programs are on the schedule. And so I strongly urge and note how important it is that people be able to find out when the program is being broadcast. So there needs to be funding to make sure that this program works. We need to continue to work with BIG. I should tell you that Ben Brown is the person at BIG who has been our main support and has allowed us to learn a lot. The three of us who are producing the program can write and we can do research. And Ben has been there to remind us what will really work on television. So please, we urge that programs be broadcast on Comcast and that the funding continue as strongly or more strongly than it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Henry Winkelman and Ian Rothman is next. Out of just point of information, after Mr. Winkelman, we have 25 speakers signed up. And if you wish to speak and haven't signed up, see Mr. Faison in the back. Mr. Winkelman.
Thank you. I'd like to also support my total appreciation and gratitude for what BIG has provided to not only the Age-Friendly show that I'm associated with, but to the community at large. The three issues that I wanted to bring up have all been highlighted before, but the fact that this show is downgraded from what we videotape it in, and it needs to be HD. There's no reason for it not to. The program guide is also seems very easy to do, and it would be very helpful for improving the information that's available to people about the shows they want to watch in the future. And the last thing is closed captioning. In the 21st century, there's no reason why we should be denying people with limited abilities or disabilities the freedom to watch shows that they want. The one other statement I'd like to make is just supporting what Frank said earlier about the Winthrop Park. It really is a very beautiful park. I drove by it every day for 10 years. And the second to last picture in the collection he presented is so appropriate. There's a huge roll of wires down at street level so that a child, anyone could just grab it, run into it. It's unsafe and should be changed immediately. Thank you.
Thank you. Ian Rothman and Toby Warner is on deck.
Good afternoon. My name is Ian Rothman. I'm here as president of the Brookline Education Foundation. I don't speak outside of the BEF very frequently, but I'm thrilled to be here today to speak to you about our friend and partner, the Brookline Interactive Group. As many of you know, the Brookline Education Foundation is one of the oldest local education foundations in the country. Each year we contribute more than $250,000 to the Brookline Public Schools. Our 4 major grants and other programs provide support to individual teachers, to groups of teachers, and to the entire district, and we focus on facilitating the access and opportunity for every Brookline educator to the resources that they need to continually hone their craft and take advantage of the latest thinking about education. Every Brookline student, from the youngest kids in BEEP to BHS seniors, benefits from our programs. Why am I telling you this? Because to fulfill our mission to the community, we rely on our friends and partners, and one of those very valued friends and partners is BIG. At one level, BEF's activities are very simple. We raise money and we give it to the schools. But we need to raise it to give it away, and fundraising is hard. As much as we can talk about the work that we do, the power of video conveys our message much more effectively, emotionally, and persuasively. BIG has been there for us with access to their technology, to their equipment, to their people, and to their know-how, all to help us bring our message to the community. They've produced videos which we use for fundraising events and at our programs. BIG staff has worked with the schools and students in programs supported by our grants. They also broadcast our annual 5th grade spelling bee, which is a wonderful townwide event, nostalgic, classic, and even popular in this day and age of spell check and autocorrect. Each one of these projects has been integral to our mission. BIG has helped us remain strong, visible, active in the community, and most importantly, they help us raise money that has been used to benefit all of the children in the Brookline Public Schools. We strongly support full funding of BIG. Thank you.
Thank you. Toby Warner and Daniel James is on deck.
I'm Toby Warner, 405 Washington Street in Brookline. Last January, and I'm a disgruntled Comcast customer, last January I downgraded my service because of my dissatisfaction and wrote a letter to Comcast and copied the FCC. I wrote the letter to the chairman of the board. 4 or 5 days later, I got a call from the regional manager of Comcast, and he tried to persuade me to upgrade my service. He offered me free offers. He apologized for everything that was going on, etc. At the end of the conversation, I said to him, well, now I know how to get Comcast's attention. Copy a letter to the FCC. And since then, I've made it my business to tell as many people as possible to copy any complaints to Comcast to the FCC.
Thank you. Daniel James and Kathy Augusta and Melissa O'Brien are on deck.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Daniel Jamus. I live in 10 Claflin Road in Brookline, and here I'm here to tell you why I think it's really important to continue funding for BIG, and I speak from I've been a BIG member for about 5 years, since 2010, and I joined them because I was interested in developing my film and video skills, and I must say that BIG has more than fulfilled my expectation and goals. I started to take classes there, and then I volunteered as a camera operator on a few shows. But my biggest project with BIG was making my first film, which was a documentary about community art projects in Brookline. I followed 7 projects that received funding from the Brookline Commission for the Arts in 2011 and documented the art-making process along with performances, exhibits, and interviews. And I just want to list some of the projects that I covered because I'm sure many of you are familiar with them. The Lawrence School Mural Project, the Coolidge Corner Community Chorus, the Brookline Arts Center, Studio Without Walls, and the Roland Hayes recital about the famous African-American tenor who lived here in Brookline, and his daughter is featured in the film. So I was able to make this film really thanks to the big, wonderful resources, whether it was the equipment, the software, the great support from the staff, and also from the big extended community. The film had its premiere in the fall of 2013 at the Big Theater, which is another great resource that Big offers. And it also screened at the Coolidge Corner Theater as part of the Arts Brookline initiative in 2014. And I'm really proud to say that I had a very multi-generational audience at that screening. The oldest member was 85 years old, and the youngest one was 9, and he was the younger brother of my boys, one of my boys' classmates. And for some reason, the film really resonated with him, and he asked really good questions during the Q&A at that screening. And then the film aired on Big Channel last fall, and also on Somerville Community TV in the winter. And I must say that Big had a really transformative impact on me, because it made a long time dream of making a film come true, and I really enjoyed every step of the process, and also made several new friends, and I have felt more connected with my town as a result. And at the stage of my life where I am now, with a job and a family, I'm not really sure how I would have done it otherwise without Big. So now I'm actually at work on my next film project, which is about Hubway, Boston bike sharing system, and for which I'm going to rely on Big resources again a lot. So yes, I really urge you to support strong renegotiation with Comcast. As the others said, I think inclusion in the program guide would be great, because that would make it easier also to promote and share the content that is aired on the station. Having community channels in HD would be great as well, and full operational and capital funding, of course, is essential. And I think we, as Brookline residents, really need all of this if we can continue to use and benefit from the wonderful resources that Big has to offer. Thanks.
Thank you. Kathy Augusta and Melissa O'Brien, you can come up separately or together as you see fit. Laura Nooney is after them.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Kathy August, and I am the Elementary Middle School Coordinator for Steps to Success. Steps to Success has a co-partnership with BIG since 2010. This partnership has been a blessing to our students and has also expanded our curriculum. Our students have been exposed to digital literacy coursework and cutting-edge technology through out-of-school programs and workshops, internships, access to technology and software otherwise unavailable to our community. They've also been instrumental in coordinating several events, including a week-long domestic violence initiative that happens each fall at Brookline High School. Steps to Success has been so impressed with BIG's commitment to bringing high-tech access and learning to the Brookline community. It has been a privilege to collaborate with them, and they have offered us invaluable support to our own mission to see economically disadvantaged students make it to college graduation. With the funding from Comcast and the upgrade in how BIG can be viewed in the Comcast network, they will be able to continue the tremendous work that they have been providing the town of Brookline and various partners. We highly recommend that Comcast responds positively to BIG's request for support.
Thank you. Does Melissa?
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. Just wanted to say a couple brief things regarding BIG and the Steps to Success relationship that we have. My now 4th year here with Steps to Success, and for those of you who are not aware, and those of you from Comcast who are not aware, Steps to Success program provides educational opportunities and seeks to enhance educational outcomes for students who reside in Brookline public housing. We have been in Brookline since 2001, and each year we send more and more of our young folks on to college and post-secondary opportunities, if not college. So the Steps to Success and Brookline Interactive Group relationship, well before I came here, had been established to provide students with opportunities not only in technology and media, but opportunities to see how things in this town progress and advance through the lens and scope of the camera. So a couple of things I want to talk about where STEPS has been crucial with the relationship with the Brookline Interactive Group. Kathy had mentioned before is the domestic violence awareness. This is now the second year, going to our third year, that we have provided domestic violence awareness campaigns to not only the young people of Brookline, regardless of race, age, background, but also the community. This year, we teamed up with BIG to do a purple tie event in which we had a panel of people from various outlets in the domestic violence prevention and awareness community, both in Brookline and in Boston, to speak to the community about the situation and the stance of domestic violence as it stands in Brookline and beyond. It was an extremely successful event, and BIG was also instrumental in showing a documentary that talked about how violence is depicted in music videos, what our children see, what your grandchildren see, what our students see. So it was great in getting that message out to the community, to the parents who couldn't attend, to the students who couldn't attend. Very, very beneficial. The second and the biggest and most important to me as the high school coordinator for Steps to Success are the internship opportunities. The opportunities given to our students to have experiences in the STEM fields, which we know is huge right now and which we need to guide more of our students to. So in the spring, we partnered with BIG to provide internships to two of our students, a senior and a sophomore. Learned incredible things. I believe one of the students is on one of the flyers for BIG, and it completely changed his personality. Went from a shy, recluse student to someone who loves being in front of the camera, loves to inform people, and loves to work with technology. This summer, we have provided internships to 3 high school students. So we are expanding their horizons, providing opportunities for them, and allowing them to see if this is where they want to be. And if not, they are getting messages across to other people. They're spreading the word. They are seeing how our community learns and hears about different things in this community, which they otherwise would not have heard or learned about if not for BIG. The last thing I want to talk about is within Steps to Success itself, what our students have seen when they participate in different activities. For instance, we held a women's panel where we invited women from all fields across Boston and Brookline to speak to our young girls in the program. And the students were able to see how a boom mic works, how a camera works, how the guys in the sound and the production, what they do and what goes behind the scenes of maybe shows that they watch and different videos that they watch. We have really great close working relationships with the staff at BIG with Steps to Success. The gentlemen you see here operating the cameras have been very helpful in anything that we need to get our students to have opportunities and learning how to operate equipment or to use their facilities. And Kathy has been widely fabulous and fantastic about taking interns and, again, providing the youth of Brookline, the low-income youth, but all youth with opportunities to see how technology works and where our world is going. So thank you.
Thank you. Laura Nooney, and after that is Russell Whitaker's on deck.
Hi, thank you for taking the time to...
Can you speak into the mic?
Like this?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for taking the time to hear about how BIG is important to the community. And I'm going to be speaking as a member of, also a resident at Brookline, but also a board member at BIG. I've worked at WGBH as a producer of children's programming for almost 15 years. And so my perspective is really around media literacy and the importance of that for children. Over the last 15 years, I've seen a real increase in media consumption. And with that, there's a need for real media literacy, which is, and part of understanding media is also understanding its manipulation, the language of media, and also how it's made. And of course, as you've heard, BIG plays a huge role in helping people of all ages understand that. I've also seen an increased expectation for media creation. If you think about with the advent of the internet, we are no longer just passive media consumers, we are active media creators. And of course, BIG plays a big role in helping people of all ages, again, understand how to do that. So I'm going to ask that full funding be recommitted to BIG. as a way to implement these educational programs in particular, and that full accessibility to the content is made available through closed captioning and also inclusion in the guide. This will really empower media makers with seeing, there's that feeling of when you see that I did that. That's amazingly powerful for, again, not just for kids, but older adults. And lastly, we need to stay relevant. And with that, modernization is really allowing our content to be in HD. I think that's really important. Again, that relevance allows for that empowerment and that sense of autonomy within this really media-driven world we live in. So thank you for listening. Thank you.
Mr. Whitaker, and on deck is Matt Cooney. Russell Whitaker.
Yep. Good afternoon. I'm Russell Whitaker. I live at 417 Washington Street. I'd like to thank Comcast, the town, and the BIG is also the Senior Center for hosting this event. I've come to talk about what is important and special about BIG and also what I want to see in its future. There are many public services that I am proud of here in Brookline. Many people have spoken about the public schools, the public safety. There's a reference to a park, our library, of course, and I would include in this group our Community Access Center, BIG. As with all of these services, BIG has a knowledgeable staff, well-maintained equipment, and a wonderful, beautiful building. And like these other services, I know that I help to pay for them, in the case of Brookline Access, through my monthly cable and internet bill. Our two daughters go to the Brookline Public Schools, and they have benefited from a number of the services that BIG offer. And through this, they are developing the media literacy that will be increasingly essential to their future. My eldest now enters Brookline High, and I want to know that she will continue to have equipment and resources that are relevant. My work in the television industry has taken me to studios around the world. Here in Brookline, we have one of the premier community media centers, not just in eastern Massachusetts, but in the entire country. To stay that way, these negotiations need to result in sufficient money for both operating and capital expenses. I am disturbed, however, by the lack of a high-definition channel. The Brookline signals are carried on outdated, standard definition channels. HD has long since become the standard viewing experience. Much of the care and effort that previous speakers have spoken about that goes into these productions has been lost when the HD signal is crushed to SD. It would be nice to, when we go home and watch this meeting, to be able to tell the pattern of the shirt that I am wearing. Today, that is not possible. Hopefully, after the town and Comcast finish their negotiations, Brookline will have the HD channel we all deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cooney, and Sarah Fujiwara is after Mr. Cooney.
Hi, good afternoon all. My name is Matthew Cooney. I'm a resident of Brookline, 26 Chestnut Street, and I am here as the Executive Director of the Brookline Teen Center. And I'd like to lend my voice in support of the continuation of full funding for BIG. Community media and the resources that go along with it are critical to our community, and from where I sit as the Executive Director of the Teen Center, they are vital to our youth. I ask that you put a strong renegotiation with our community's cable company franchises a top priority. As we designed and built the BTC, we considered building spaces that would allow us to provide programming aimed at helping youth be prepared for the 21st century. In all of our conversations, media and technology were clearly a part of what was important. At the same time, we were clear that we did not want to build components of the BTC that already exist within our community, and hence we focused heavily on other things such as a recording studio that could provide for creative expression and the platform for teaching the technology side of the recording industry, and not necessarily focus on a multimedia center because it already existed at BIG. Big has played a critical role in helping the Teen Center get off the ground, including graciously providing us office space while the Teen Center was being built. They were at the table with both consulting and design assistance as we grappled with the most cost-effective way to get IT and media capabilities built into the space. They had no hesitation with climbing ladders and pulling cables through the space in order to help us get the most effective technological solutions that we could afford, and quite frankly, much better solutions than our IT consultants were providing. Since our opening, Big has continued to be supportive and provide critical resources. We often check out video recording equipment. Our youth use the equipment often to capture BTC events, consult with them on lighting issues for events, and look for their staff for guidance with technology-related questions. As the Teen Center comes into its own, we are looking to collaborate with Big on programming such as music video making classes that will combine the use of our recording studio with the great resources of Big's talented staff and video editing equipment. We are also beginning to discuss the teaching of video editing at the Teen Center to supplement the great work they already do within the school system. In the future, we would like to have Big be able to consider building a live studio in the Teen Center, along with developing media classes taught by Big staff and using Big's equipment at the center. This would add a tremendous opportunity to the BTC membership and the youth of Brookline. I urge your strong support during the renegotiation process for Brookline Interactive Group's continued high-quality community media services and for full funding for the town of Brookline. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Fujiwara and John Werner's on deck.
Thank you. My name is Sarah Fujiwara, and I'm the Executive Director of the Brookline Arts Center. And I am here to really support all of the initiatives described by previous speakers in relationship to Big. We are a 50-year-old art center offering classes to over 800 children, teens, and adults each year. We also have a small gallery and have 8 exhibits each year and provide vital arts programming to residents. One of the reasons that I want to so strongly support Big's continued funding is because of the services that they've been able to provide to us and to the collaboration and partnership. We celebrated our 50th year this year, and we, with Big's significant help and the talented producer, Marcia Hulley, who is a Brookline resident, were able to produce a video honoring our founders, Brookline long-term residents, and to document the history of this both historic firehouse, but also its conversion to an art center. They provided technical support, they provided equipment, their classes provided resources in terms of doing the videoing, and some of the videos were complicated because it was two-person interviews, and so they provided help for that. We really couldn't have done it without Big support and without Marcia's talent. I would also strongly support what prior speakers have talked about, which is conversion to HD. It seems just like a very logical step and one that perhaps should have happened a bit ago. Also for programming to be listed, to be able to have all residents and all viewers be able to see would significantly improve access and maintain the visibility of Big's programming. I look forward to continued collaborations with Big staff. They are working with Kathy, working with others. They're always looking for opportunities to support us as a nonprofit, to extend their services and to really help us think creatively about how we can work together to improve community access TV for all. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Werner,
yeah,
and
thank
on
you.
deck is Carolyn Richardson.
Great. So I'm a big fan of public access. For 10 years, I went up against the Friends TV show in Cambridge when I did a show called Yo, What's Your Origin of That? So I'm very familiar with public access. In moving to Brookline and discovering this crown jewel of the region, I've come to really appreciate Big. I, with a number of others, organized an event called TEDx Beacon Street. And we've had 260 speakers, and we've amassed 25 million views on YouTube of those talks. We have been doing it at a local school, the Lincoln School, and we realized that we were hiring video people to come in, and why not use this crown jewel resource, BIG, as a place to experiment doing the event. We created an intimate event where about 300 people attended and heard 30 talks, and the talks were outstanding. Someone, a National Geographic photographer, Steve Jobs' personal photographer when he wore Armani suits during that period that no one knows about. Sandy Pentland, who is, his team invented Google Glass, and he's considered one of the top 5 data scientists. We had scientists at Adobe, and we had someone whose talk ended up being one of the top 10 most significant research ideas according to Scientific American. It was discovered on the stage at BIG. So we had 300 people hear these 30 speakers, and it was great. And after the talks, because there's a parallel studio, we were able to interview the speakers, and the community members got to interact with these great speakers. And in working with the team at BIG, we've decided we want to create field trips over the next 24 months where people can meet these speakers that were recorded. And we had a big idea, and BIG is big, and their talented team of recent college grads who understand social media much better than a lot of you all, no offense, have been a great collaborator. And I think this is a resource. I saw Matt Cooney of the Brookline Teen Center. We have big plans to really help make the next generation savvy on communicating, telling stories, and being aware. We need journalism more than ever, and the business model is broken right now. And a place like BIG is able to help intergenerational learning and promote ideas and community. And we see this as a place to do innovative work that could spread to other public access stations. So as Comcast and others think about the potential of public access in the age of YouTube, it's probably having a crisis of confidence. And I think we're onto a model of engaging the next generation in a way that could come up with a business model that really works. And I want to emphatically say we love BIG, and BIG is big. Thank you.
Thank you. Carolyn Richardson and Miriam Macht is on deck.
All right, hello. I'm Caroline Richardson. I live at 98 Addington Road, right up behind the high school. I'm a children's librarian at the main branch of the Brookline Public Library, which is at 361 Washington Street. And I'm reading from a letter. Brookline has long benefited from the resources that the Brookline Interactive Group provides our community. At the library, that means access to the equipment and studio that BIG generously loans to us for our own community programming. However, even more importantly, that means access to the expertise, creativity, and enthusiasm of BIG's dedicated staff. These resources are irreplaceable. Without BIG, Brookline would be both a smaller and a less closely knit place, and we would be the poorer because of it. Because of BIG, the library is able to offer truly unique programs to members of our community, ranging from infants all the way up to their parents and grandparents. BIG's resources have allowed us to create a Storytime cinema program which introduced young audiences to different ways of telling stories and the unique demands that different mediums can impose on the same story. BIG has also allowed the library to reach members of the Brookline community in their own homes. Because of BIG, we were able to broadcast our very exciting 50 Shades of Reading program on Brookline's public access channel. We were able to draw an exciting and diverse panel of experts because of the promise that BIG's broadcasting would allow us to reach a much larger audience than we usually would be able to on our own. Independently and with the library, BIG has worked on multiple grants to benefit our community. Together, we are currently working to fund a program teaching children how to write, produce, and film their own movie trailers for books, which have won the Newbery Award, which is the Oscar of Children's Book Awards. Children's Book Awards. Thanks to BIG and the support that Comcast has given to BIG in the past, members of the Brookline community have become media makers as well as media consumers. We have more opportunities and are more informed about ourselves and the world around us than we have ever been. We urge your continued support for BIG and for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Miriam Macht and Sanford Ornstein is on deck.
Hi, my name is Miriam Macht, and I'm here to represent my husband John, who's sitting there. The two of us wrote this letter regarding our feelings about BIG. We are writing to let you know why we feel that continuing support of BIG is important to Brookline, and we strongly recommend a meaningful renegotiation with our community's cable company franchise. Brookline has greatly benefited by having these community resources that can train, create, and encourage the development of media skills of youth and adults in Brookline. It is critical to continue to support this effort. We are longtime Brookline residents where our 22-year-old son Daniel, who is on the autism spectrum, has participated as an intern at BIG for the past 3.5 years. He has benefited greatly from this experience and has been able to pursue his love of animation and has learned a great deal from the staff about animation in many ways. For example, he has helped create several animated videos for the Be Bear Book Club and continues to do so this summer. In addition, with the support of the staff and his job coach, he has learned various other skills, such as taking inventory, helping as a greeter during community program events, distributing flyers at the high school for upcoming programs, and other things. This internship has given him an opportunity to work as a member of a team in an office environment. Daniel has developed skills which he would not have been able to do without this supportive and inclusive environment. His contribution to BIG has certainly improved his self-esteem and confidence and is helping to better prepare him for future opportunities. We have been so gratified to see him flourish at BIG. We therefore urge you to strongly support full funding during the renegotiation process with Comcast for Brookline Interactive Group's continued high-quality community media services and for funding the town of Brookline. We also agree that BIG's programming for our community be included in the cable listing, which will encourage increased viewership in the town. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sanford Ornstein and Raymond Latif is on deck.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Sandy Ornstein. I live in Parkman Street. I grew up in New York City, spent a little bit of time living in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and then had the great good fortune to move to Brookline about 40 years ago. You've probably heard this one, when life brings lemons, you make lemonade. What, please tell me, do you do when life brings you way too much time, way too early? I read a lot. The library is only a couple of blocks away. I watch TV. I've been doing that since 1948. I play music. I can still exercise a little bit. But other than that, what do? Avoid eating too much? Avoid drinking too much? So I was playing in a band, and the leader of the band said to me, I called Brookline Access TV, which is what BIG used to be called, and I said to them, can I bring my band down? Will you record us? And they said, well, we don't quite do it that way anymore. But if you come down here, we'll show you how to record your band. He wasn't interested in that, but it sounded like a great idea to me. I had a Brownie camera when I was a boy, and I've had a camera almost all my life, and they were always still cameras. I had friends who did movie pictures, and I saw what they had to go through to develop the film and cut it. And I used to have a job in high school splicing movies. And I just said, that's not what I want to do. But I showed up at BIG, and they showed me how to use the control room, how to run cameras, how to produce, gave me some ideas of what a documentary is, and then they proceeded to put in front of me this buffet of opportunities to practice what they had just taught me. I could film musical performances at the high school. I could film sporting events. I could film TEDx on Beacon Street. I could record the Brookline Health Forum with Mike Dukakis. I could stand next to Deval Patrick with a camera between us when we had a Brookline Education Forum with Mr. Lucchini. And it's a very, very long list. I won't bore you with the whole thing. The point is that there's an educational program going on here that's not just for the high school. So in the process of doing this, I've developed a network of friends, and these friends asked me to work on their project. So I did a little bit of work with Danielle on his Brookline Arts piece, and I've done some work with David Rothhauser, who you'll hear speak in a little bit, about some of his films, and it goes on and on and on. It's just, once you can do something, there's a network of friends that allow you to draw things in. I did a documentary of my own. It took about 9 months. It runs about an hour, and they put it into the queue at Big, and it just kept running for more than a year. I sometimes have insomnia. I'd get up, I'd turn the TV set on, and there's my film. It's nice. I also got the stations in Stoughton, Belmont, and Somerville to broadcast the film. That was hard work, getting those stations to broadcast. At any rate, it's my first experience volunteering, and it's a new experience for me to have to work with a professional staff whose mandate is not to say no to me. But there are some things I could ask for that they just can't deliver. So it was another learning experience for me, and altogether, just having a friend turn to me and say, wouldn't you like to have our band recorded, turns into this learning experience that you've heard people, experts on aging, say when you get older, you need to do things to keep your mind alert. And this has kept my mind alert in ways I could never have imagined. So I second all of the requests that Ms. Bigby made. I second all of the requests that were made for the Teen Center and for TEDx Beacon Street, because it makes Brookline a better place to live, and it certainly makes my life better. I probably have more to say. I'll come back in September. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Latif. And Leslie Ford is on deck.
Hi, my name is Raymond Latif. I've been a Brookline resident for about 11 years now. And I want to share a little bit of my personal story with Big, sort of the way Sandy did. I started at Big in 2009, back when it was Brookline Access Television. I came in not really knowing about what the organization was really doing or anything about it. I just knew that I could come in there and maybe create a TV show. And I did. I created a small TV show called French Oak, and it was about the local wine and spirits community and what was going on in the area, which is now pretty big and booming, as some of you might know. I became a board member in 2012, but in the time between, in these 6 years, I've segued my experience as a producer here at Big, well, not here at Big, but at Big, to become a managing editor of a national publication that covers the beverage industry. And that was really as a result of my experience with Big. Big really allowed me to turn a passion and a dream into a reality. There's no way I could be doing what I'm doing right now without the organization. And it's also something where, the people that work with me, the people on my crew, my team, they also use their experience at Big to follow their own passions and dreams. We had 2 of our editors go on to master's programs at local universities. We had another editor who became an editor at ESPN. So these are all things that originated from the station and would not have happened without the support of the staff and the kind of funding that supports staff members, equipment, stage, lighting, all these things that go into having an organization like we do. And career and personal development is such an important part of what we do. People aren't necessarily sure about what they want to do when they're coming out of college or later in their lives. They're looking for an opportunity, they're looking for a hobby. And Big provides people with the education and the technological know-how to be able to follow their dreams. I mean, if you look at Daniel, who created this beautiful documentary, Pearls Are in Irregular Shape is a beautiful film that covers the art community and local art projects here in Brookline, and people wouldn't necessarily know about it without the kind of support that he got from Big, and as he mentioned. One of the other things that Big does so well is youth outreach and education. Everyone has an iPhone. kids have iPhones. Everyone has access to this technology. But how do you use it responsibly? How do you use video responsibly? How do you use social media responsibly? And Big has been at the forefront of doing that, teaching kids how to be better students, how to be better members of the community, and frankly, ways not to be bad members of the community, how to do things that are appropriate for someone of their age, or, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so, it's also an opportunity, by extension for Comcast to kind of teach kids and to educate and be a part of that outreach. And lastly, I want to talk about, the inclusion in the program guide. As we all know, everyone, has flips through stations these days, but it's really important for people to see what they're watching, and know and have that kind of that little blurb about what the program is all about and who's involved. And these are very important things. Closed captioning. My wife and I have a daughter who's just about a year old, and closed captioning isn't just for the sight impaired. It's something that if you need to turn the TV off while your daughter's sleeping, closed captioning comes in really handy. And frankly, we don't really watch TV these days without closed captioning. So, and lastly, HD. HD is so important. As a producer, and speaking to a lot of producers at Big, you can sense that heart and soul and the passion that they put into their projects. What better way to honor them and their work than to produce it and publish it in the highest quality, and that's HD right now. So for all these reasons, it's very, very important that we continue to receive the funding from Comcast and have their support for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Leslie Ford and Linda Olson-Pelkey is next.
Good afternoon. Hello, everyone. I'm Leslie Ford. I'm a resident of Brookline. I'm also a board member for Big, and I am a Comcast customer. So I first wanted to talk a little bit about funding and request that Comcast continue to support Big at a full commitment level. As part of the board and as a marketer in my day job, I'm a vice president of marketing, I was responsible for doing a lot of the research that underscored the rebranding from Brookline Access Television to Brookline Interactive Group. And as part of that, I conducted one-on-one interviews, focus groups, we sent out a survey. It was all qualitative in nature, but really to understand what this resource means to the community, how our constituents think about us, how we can be as relevant and as resonant as possible with what we offer. And long story short, in addition to all the great stories you've already heard, we have a lot of untapped potential. There's a lot more to do. We have so many passionate people in the community and at Big who want to continue to educate and empower people to tell their stories. We need Comcast support to continue doing that. So it's particularly important to us for that reason. And then my second point is on the program guide. As a marketer, and I'm a marketer in a public company, so if I were on the Comcast side of the table, I'd be thinking about return on investment. In an era where large brands, large national brands like Comcast often are perceived as being, large, out of touch, not local, and people are consuming media in lots of other places. Being part of the program guide makes Comcast not just a purveyor of passive media, but an enabling technology for people in this community who are creating media. And it allows Comcast to have a local angle and a local component to its marketing efforts. So I feel that we can be part of Comcast's success in addition to continuing with this great resource for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Olson-Pelkey and Susan Rack is on deck. So happy to see you, Linda.
Hello, my name's Linda Olson-Pelkey. I'm just a resident of Brookline. I'm a town meeting member. I'm here to make 2 points. The first one is we've heard a lot today about all the really valuable programming that gets produced at Big. And we've also heard a lot of suggestions about how to improve access to that programming. But one thing we haven't been talking about, mostly because Neil told us we can't talk about it, is the price of the cable.
You can talk about it.
But I would like to just throw out the suggestion that because we have a great many people living at the poverty level, and about a third of our population lives at 3 times the poverty level or below, we should think about having a means-tested discount cable service. Because if we want everyone in our community to have access to all of this vital information, community events, municipal government, how can they get it if they can't afford that cable bill? So that's all I'll say about that. And the other reason I'm here is because Frank asked me to come, and because he had the idea to suggest burying the wires that abut Winthrop Square Park, which of course contains the Minot Rose Garden. I am the person who founded the Friends of the Minot Rose Garden and oversaw the restoration and continued maintenance of that garden. And I will say that with the support of the town, the Brookline Community Foundation, and a lot of neighbors and residents of Brookline, we have restored that garden, and it really has had kind of a ripple effect in terms of people's pride in the neighborhood and improvements to homes and businesses in the area. It really has changed the look and feel. And one big thing that would really help it a whole lot would be to get rid of those ugly wires. So I completely agree with the suggestion that Frank has made. I am here with my friend Jean Stringham, who is also a member of the Friends of the Minot Rose Garden, to support that suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Rack, and after Susan Rack is Joyce Graff.
Good afternoon. My name is Susan Rack. I'm a 40-year resident of Brookline, 202 Fuller Street. And at the risk of being repetitive, I want to thank you for the opportunity to come and talk about Brookline Interactive Group this afternoon. Speaking as the president of Brookline Rotary, I'm acutely aware of the role BIG has played in helping our organization raise money for many other nonprofit organizations in Brookline. I am speaking now about our major fundraiser, Dancing with the Brookline Stars, where 8 Brookline notables perform a ballroom dance with professional dancers, emulating the famous TV show while raising money for charity. For those of you who have not seen the video, BIG filmed and aired a dance lesson with each dancer and interviewed them on their chosen charities. This not only entertained us, but educated the general public on 8 important local charities. The night of the event, they incorporated these tapes into an evening, elevating the quality of the event to a professional level. Post-event, thanks to BIG's YouTube video, we have had inquiries from as far away as Barcelona asking about our event and our community. BIG provided the staff, the expertise, the equipment, and significant time. Without the access that BIG provided us in publicizing our fundraising efforts on behalf of Brookline, we would never have been able to raise the $190,000 we distributed last year to over 8 local charities, including the Brookline Senior Center, which we sit in now, the Brookline Food Pantry, Brookline Mental Health Center, Steps to Success, Brookline Green Space Alliance, and several Brookline High School scholarships, as well as others. If we had been forced to pay market price for the high-quality services BIG afforded us, pre-event, during, and post-event, we would likely have lost about 1/10 of the funding we were able to distribute. BIG not only enriches the quality of our events and the quality of life in Brookline, but it directly impacts on the funds given to our deserving organizations. I am here today to ask that the selectmen, in their negotiations with Comcast, secure for BIG and for the Brookline community the following: high-definition channels, access to the Comcast program guide, full operational and capital funding for the town and for BIG, and closed captioning. These items are important if Brookline is to maintain its status as a desirable community and competitive with other communities as we head into the future of media. Please help us to ensure that this significant community contributor continues, and that you and I will find Nancy Daly listed in the Comcast program guide and find her dancing for her all for the Brookline Senior Center come November. Thank you.
Thank you. Joyce Graff and Sarah Slyman is on deck.
Good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm Joyce Graff. I live in Brookline. I've lived in Brookline since 1972, and I love living in Brookline, mostly because of the rich set of additional services that we get. People sometimes complain about their taxes or the cost of the Comcast bill, but if we get these services back, then it's very much worthwhile to me. One of the things that I wanted to point out is that Brookline, the big group that used to be Brookline Access Television, has done a great deal in allowing nonprofit organizations to provide professional public service announcements without charge. I first was asked by BIG if they could help us prepare a public service announcement for the VHL Family Alliance. It's an organization for a rare disease, and getting that kind of opportunity is very, very meaningful to small nonprofits. We talked a lot about aging in this community, and as we age, sometimes the ability to see or hear can go down. So not only do we need the listings and the HD that we've talked about before, but we also need those accessibility features, the closed captioning or the commentaries for blind people, which also are on the closed captioning channel, but to allow access by people who are losing their vision or their hearing for these community resources that are so important to us. So I would encourage you, please, to continue the funding for the Brookline Interactive Group and to retain this marvelous resource for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Slyman and Marcia Hulley is up after Sarah.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Sarah Slyman. I'm the library director for the town of Brookline. I want to just briefly address to begin with the HD situation. When I was first made aware of this hearing, I was shocked to hear that we weren't able to provide BIG in HD, and that to me is just so shocking because it's completely out of date to send standard definition. It really belittles the work that BIG is doing. They do such fine work, and to not be able to see, as the gentleman mentioned, the pattern on his shirt and other details, it's really a shame. I hope that they're able to remedy that. The importance of having the trainers from BIG here in Brookline to help residents navigate the world of digital media and broadcasting can't be overstated. BIG is an irreplaceable resource for the Public Library of Brookline. BIG records, broadcasts, and YouTubes many library programs to the public in Brookline. We offer hundreds of programs a year, and BIG is very generous with their time to support those programs, from filming public meetings about the renovations, possible renovations at the Coolidge Corner Branch Library, to fun story times. Caroline mentioned some of the wonderful children's programs that they've made available. But I think I want to focus less on what they actually do for us and what they do for people who might not otherwise be able to access library services. I think we're all familiar with the motto over the door at the Boston Public Library, which says free to all. That is the model for public libraries throughout our nation, and all of our services are provided free. And one of the prime directives of public libraries is equal access to everyone. So some folks can only access our programs through BIG. There are many communities, subsets of the community here in Brookline that can only participate in our programs through multiple big channels. For example, elderly folks with limited mobility and transportation options, shut-ins who can't get out of the house, but we've had several folks remark to us that they were lifelong users of the library who can no longer get actually into the library buildings, but they feel that they're still connected through our home book delivery service and the ability to watch our programs on BIG. Families with young children who wouldn't be able to attend library programs without the expense of a babysitter. It can get pretty costly if you want to go out, and as I mentioned, we want all our services to be free. So for someone to have to pay $10 or $15 an hour to get the kids watched to come see one of our fantastic programs is really asking a lot. Residents like our brave police and firefighters whose work hours make them unable to attend library programs when we're open. Financially disadvantaged people who might not have the resources to get to the library. We do have 3 locations, but they aren't necessarily all accessible to everyone in every neighborhood. My underlying message is that BIG helps to unite this community in a very unique way. Their training and creation opportunities for residents bring townspeople of all ages and socioeconomic levels together, and they help to extend the range of our community building activities beyond the doors of the library. Rather than face a contraction of services, it is important for BIG to be able to grow and thrive to help Brookline keep up with the world of digital media. We at the library strongly support BIG's mission and hope that the renegotiation process is beneficial to them. They're an asset to this community and should not be hamstrung by funding cuts. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Marcia Hulley, and after Marcia is Brianna Gump.
I'm Marcia Hulley, and I think everything I'm going to say has already been said, but I'm going to say it anyway. I didn't write my remarks down. I'm a relatively newcomer to BIG. I think I was the very first person to be a BIG member after the branding. I think that's about a year and a half now. And when I asked Kathy what I should talk about, she said, well, can you talk about how BIG changed your life? And I went, oh my God, that's because something changing your life is so huge. And this morning I was thinking about it, and thought, it's true. BIG has changed my life, and in the following way. So I was a TV producer, director, editor at WGBH for 33 years. And I thought I was done. I thought I was done with media. And then I got invited to go, I'm looking back there, I got invited to go to an open house, and went to the open house, and it seemed pretty cool. And then somebody said, well, maybe you should become a member. So I became a member and met Andrea and found out what was going on there. The studio looked inviting. And then somebody said, well, if you're going to be a member, you should take the production course. So I took the production course. And even though I'm skilled, I don't know how, I've never shot my own camera. I was privileged, and I had people to do it for me. So there's a whole bunch of things I had no idea about. So I took the production course, we made a show, we made a live show. I got picked to be host, which was sobering and fun, and I learned a whole bunch of new skills, and then I began to use what I was learning and the access to be part of my neighborhood community. I shot a promo, a cover of our block party, and I got asked, and I shot the concerts at Goddard House, which are free and open to the community, and then I did a promo for them this year that will help them. And then Brookline Art Center came to me and said, we'd like to do a 50th anniversary reel. And it was a pretty big responsibility as I saw it, because the founders are 85 and 90 years old. And I knew it was important that it be done right, because getting that on tape is sort of historic import to them and to Brookline Art Center and to Brookline. I would never have said yes, never, if I didn't have BIG. Because I knew I had equipment, I had support, I had people I felt comfortable with, I had a place where I wouldn't be alone doing it. So I guess I fall into Sandy's category of having time now, and I never thought I'd be back making media again, but thanks to BIG, I am, and I'd love to know what's on. I had no idea about that film. I'd like to see it. If I could find out when it's on Comcast, I'll watch. And HD, have to do HD. Everything's HD, so please support us.
Thank
BIG.
you.
Thank you.
Brianna Gump, and Riley Zayab is after.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brianne, and I'm a student at Boston University. I'm a rising junior, and I just started my internship at Brookline Interactive Group this summer. My internship at Brookline Interactive Group has been so fulfilling and unique, as it has granted me hands-on experience in media production and public relations. I have learned an incredible amount from the resources and staff at BIG, who are always available to teach and assist on projects. Interning at BIG is rewarding because I've truly seen the impact of my work. As a public relations intern, I have gained confidence through leadership roles, had the opportunity to engage directly with members of the community, and have witnessed the value of community media. I learned best through firsthand experience, which is why the active, team-oriented environment at BIG has made my internship so enriching. Most recently, I've started working on the project Storybox. I don't know if any of you have heard of it. It's been really, really exciting to be involved, and it's just so incredible, the stories that I've so far heard at events in Brookline. We've been at the concert series in Emerson Park. We've gone to the farmers market, and just learning about the different things that Brookline people have to say has been really, really exciting to hear. I think that it's important that we have full funding and support from Comcast so that people can continue relating to each other in the community, and if that is broadcast in HG, I just think that enhances the content even more than it already is. And lastly, I think that if everyone is able to find this great program, more people will be able to connect with each other, and it'll only make the community more close-knit, which I think everyone can benefit from. Thank you.
Thank you. Riley Zayab? Zlab, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
That's okay. Hello, my name is Riley Zlab, and I work as the Development and Communication Manager for the Brookline Community Foundation. Some of you may know what BCF is, but for those of you who do not, we are the only community foundation serving the town of Brookline. Our mission is to shine a spotlight on community needs, inspire philanthropy, and award strategic grants to build a more vibrant, engaged, and equitable Brookline. As a community partner, Brookline Interactive Group provides numerous resources to so many nonprofits in town, including ourselves. Examples include free or low-cost meeting space, lower-cost video services, and free equipment rental. They have also offered us technological advice. Brookline Interactive Group also documents many critical events, community workings, and town committee meetings, including videotaping many of our own major events. We are also so impressed at the partnerships they've created in town, such as creating an online database of town's social service resources alongside the Brookline Department of Public Health and Human Services, and Be Bear Book Club in partnership with the Brookline Early Education Program. Brookline Interactive Group is filled with a tremendous group of people who have truly created a resource and tremendous community resource space for all ages. Thank you.
Thank you. J.A. O'Reilly. And Chris.
How to do? Thank you.
Chris Shannon Sulkett is next. Okay.
Is that my cue?
Go.
My name is Arch O'Reilly. I live at 160 Thorndike Street in Brookline, and I have been engaged in access television in Brookline longer than there has been cable TV in Brookline. I was actually hired to be the Brookline Local Access Coordinator in 1982 by something called Time Warner Television, who actually sold their franchise before they opened for business. My partner, Mike Sallin, and I have been doing a weekly live access television show through 5 different studios, 3 different cable providers, and 4 different access regimens in Brookline. And we still do the only live weekly television show on Big TV. So if that doesn't date me enough, I'll also date myself by saying that I'm proud to say I was the original founding president of the Brookline Educational Foundation. So there has been so much change over the years, it is unbelievable. Because what we were working hard to do in 1982 and 1983 was to get people to make content to put on cable television system. I would estimate that probably 80% of what Big does today has nothing to do with cable television. It's so much more media. It's so much easier to distribute. When I first did the first statewide disability cable program, we had to make 3/4-inch tapes and deliver them to cable systems across the state to go on. Now you can put everything on a disc. You can put it on YouTube. You can put it on anything. And access to producing video content is now ubiquitous. 13-year-olds are producing videos and putting them out to the entire world. Unfortunately, they're doing it with no guidance, no training, no experience, no idea of what's appropriate or inappropriate. And this may be the greatest contribution of BIG, the opportunity to train people to access and use this media productively, safely, and correctly. So the continued support of BIG, or the ancient access television term that we used to use in the old days when I had color in my hair, is essential to whatever leverage we retain in granting a license for a cable system. As long as we have any leverage, the best thing we can do with that leverage is to continue the support of this kind of program and have it. Now, my program is actually, last year, some of you may have noticed, we actually did quite a bit for the Chamber of Commerce because we went every week live from a different business in Brookline. And from a frame shop to an extended care facility to a Whole Foods supermarket. Now, the only thing that's being advocated here today that I have some difficulty supporting is the concept of high-definition television, because I'm the co-host of my show, and I'm not sure I want to appear in high definition on anything. Now, just at the end, not to break the unbroken string of love-in going on here, I must say that we do still have some technical problems that need to be addressed before we start worrying about high definition. I hate to say it, but it's still a fair amount of the time our program either doesn't go out. You know how frustrating it is to finish a program and go off the air and be told that you didn't go out of the studio that day, or we go out without any sound on the program and things. So before this advisory board gets too carried away with the wish list, I wish they'd give a little attention to cleaning up the basic product. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Chanusaka and Bob Miller. Mr. Miller, you're next.
So I'm actually going to give two testimonies I have two different hats. I actually should have brought two different hats, but I'll try to be fast. Thank you. My name is Chris Chanusaka, and I am here as a Human Services Specialist in the Brookline Office of Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Relations. As you know, the office aims to support a welcoming environment by, one, encouraging cooperation, tolerance, and respect among all persons who come into contact with the town of Brookline, and two, by advancing, promoting, and advocating for human and civil rights through education, outreach, and advocacy. And in our office, we work in collaboration with many different town departments and local organizations, such as the Jennifer A. Lynch Committee Against Domestic Violence. And we have tremendously benefited from the expertise and resources offered by the Brookline Interactive Group. BIG has been a valuable partner in our outreach and advocacy efforts. Over the years, we have collaborated with BIG on various projects, including the Safety Net, our television show that features various violence prevention topics, including most recently sexual assault on college campuses, and also to highlight numerous community resources. BIG has also helped us produce several public service announcements around domestic violence prevention and fair housing topics, healthy relationships, and also on topics related to senior citizens. Furthermore, BIG is committed to helping us improve our access to services for low-income women and girls by providing us technical assistance in creating this online information sharing resource, which will probably be called the Thrive Guide that you've heard about from other people. Their media and technical expertise were crucial in designing and creating this useful online program, which we hope to have available for you this fall. BIG recently also provided great help with our town's Walk a Mile in Her Shoes event, and hopefully you've heard about it. This event was held this year during the National Public Health Week, and it was a successful community-wide event with nearly 100 men, women, boys, and families walking a mile in red high heels around Cypress Park to increase awareness about the causes and effects of men's sexualized violence against women, and to show their commitment to ending gender-based violence. This was the first event of its kind in Brookline, and it brought together many families and community members together for a really important cause. BIG played a significant role in promoting this event through their creative media services, and it helped to contribute to such a large turnout, our first ever. The event's Twitter account, Walk a Mile Brookline, had over 80 engaged followers with their tweets retweeted and favorited multiple times. The event was also featured in the American Public Health Association's monthly printed and online newspaper, The Nation's Health, which highlights the latest public health news in the nation and globally. So again, I'm also here on behalf of our office to advocate for expanded senior discounts on television channels and discounted internet access for senior citizens in Brookline. Over the years, BIG has proven to be valuable in our outreach and advocacy efforts and has become an essential part of our program. So on behalf of our diversity office and our collaborators, I want to promote continued support for their efforts in creating a healthier and more welcoming Brookline community. So the other one's really short. It's for the Brookline Commission for Women. It's one page.
You can do it in a minute.
I can do it, okay. So here I am speaking on behalf of the Brookline Commission for Women, which I co-chair. We strive to support women in all aspects of their lives and to promote cultural, racial, and economic diversity in Brookline. So in a nutshell, because I have this written for you, BIG has been a significant media resource for us in the Brookline community, time and again. They have been a resource for us. They have supported us in all of our efforts, in particular those with regards to domestic violence prevention. As Melissa OBrien and others spoke about, we partnered with BIG to host the Purple Tie event as a part of their Big Talk series. We have worked together with the Brookline Community Foundation and the Brookline Community Mental Health Center on the Women and Girls Thriving in Brookline initiative. And again, they have been crucially helpful in their technical expertise and support in their promotional materials and in their outreach efforts, which helps make our programs run better and reach more women. So BIG is an important resource for both us at the Brookline Commission for Women and the entire Brookline community. Their media expertise, their commitment to community outreach, and their support in highlighting women's issues has been invaluable and greatly appreciated. So we hope at the Brookline Commission for Women to continue to build a relationship with BIG and to work creatively on our future projects to support women in the Brookline community. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob Miller and Tim Smith is next. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bob Miller. I'm a resident teacher in Brookline and a town meeting member. And I want to start. A number of years ago, I first went to Washington, D.C., quite a few years ago, and I remember being entering into the Air and Space Museum, which I'm a big plane buff, and being surprised that I didn't have to pay to go into the museum, and realized, wow, here's some of my tax money at work benefiting me in a way that I hadn't expected. And I had kind of the same experience, I think it was about 6 years ago, going into BIG studios and not only seeing impressive studios and the equipment, but being welcomed in and being offered help and services and facilities as for a summer program that I had to take off about an hour early in order to come over here that I'm working at today. And realizing that my cable bill and my taxes, and I'm not even sure where else, but that things that I do and things that I support were helping to enable an amazing facility and an amazing opportunity for the town of Brookline. Earlier this week, I brought a group of second through sixth graders over to the big studios to learn about green screening and to create some commercials and some movie trailers and things that I find very impressive what they're able to do. And I think that, the other thing that there's lots of things that I could talk about. Many of them have been talked about, but I would like to also emphasize the people that Big offers as well as the facilities, because I'm just amazed. I was amazed on that first day at the welcoming nature of the staff at Big, and this week I was continued to be amazed at just how welcoming and accommodating and inviting, and I think a lot of people have given some great stories about that. But I just really hope that we can continue to support and even expand on this incredible resource that the town of Brookline has. Thanks.
Thank you. Tim Smith is up, and next is David Rothhauser.
Good afternoon. I'll keep my remarks as brief as possible. I'm rising up to speak for full operational and capital funding support for BIG and also for HD transmission. My name is Tim Smith. I live at 12 Elliott Crescent in Chestnut Hill. I'm a Brookline resident, a thankful member of BIG, and a member of the leadership team at TEDx and TEDx Youth Beacon Street. TEDx Beacon Street is a big partner and a global leader turning ideas into action, producing world-class TED Talks, and importantly, community-based learning adventures. BIG has been a difference maker, providing TEDx Youth with access to iPad-based Gorilla Kits and editing equipment to capture and present the youth eye view of TEDx and TEDx Youth conferences. One of the greatest gifts that BIG gives to our community is access to tools that lift up more marginalized populations to amplify their voice. Youth, elderly, LGBT, and other populations engaged in social change and social justice have a one-of-a-kind platform of tools and, importantly, a community and convening space dedicated to raising their voices. During our third season, TEDx, a 17-year-old boy I will call Devin was nominated and selected to be a TEDx Youth speaker. Devin lives in public housing, and he's grown up on the streets and in Department of Youth Services hardware-secure facilities and foster homes. During speaker preparation, he confided in me that he didn't talk much about it anymore, but he had hopes of someday being a filmmaker. He threw away with a whisper that he didn't see how that could ever happen now. I asked him if he'd heard of BIG. Did he know that TEDx was a partner with BIG? And he didn't. 1 week later, we were in BIG's offices doing a walkthrough with Andrea and checking out Gorilla Kits, tripods, and sound gear. And by the way, I love the name Gorilla Kit. When you think about youth and citizen journalists, I think it's so appropriate. Devon helped us with TEDx Youth videos, production and editing. He clocked some time in the editing suites and just loved it. Shared his playlist with me, which I love too. He now has access to technology tools and, importantly, an embrace from a technical and creative community that feeds and supports goals and dreams that he didn't dare talk about. Only a year ago, they seemed so very far away. Engaging opportunity youth with new hope new possibilities for their young lives. This is one example of the power of BIG and your funding being put to work. Well, thank you for your time and finding a way to fully fund BIG. And I have been asked to give one brief note from John Warner, who's a friend and partner at TEDx Beacon Street. He asked me to remind everyone, selectmen, that Steve Jobs made the computer boot faster so as not to waste time. He would like us to argue to Comcast that we should improve the speed of the elevator so that media innovators can get to the third floor a lot faster. And he also wanted to note that he represents the MIT Media Lab as an innovation leader with the Camera Culture Group. So thanks for your time.
David Rothhauser, and the next name I'm going to mispronounce, so please excuse me. Carbiawan?
That would be you one.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Okay, you're after Mr. Rothhauser.
Good afternoon. My name is David Rothhauser. I live at 1482 Beacon Street. I've been a member of BATV since 2007 and now a member of BIG. Someone mentioned earlier today that BIG is the jewel in the crown, and I believe that very deeply, and I hope you can hold on to that image for a while. We'll get back to it. Years ago, I read a book by John Hersey, a journalist for the New York Times, called Hiroshima. And the more I thought about his story, and it was the story of survivors of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima. The more I thought about that, the more I thought, gee, those survivors, their story should be told far and wide. We need to hear more and more about them. And I had an idea for the story, but I wasn't a filmmaker, and I really didn't know how to put it all together. And then someone told me, well, it would, if you want to make a film about survivors of Hiroshima or any other kind of film, it's going to cost you $3 to $5 million. That was years ago. Those $3 to $5 million are now $150 million, $200 million, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, over the years, I began studying filmmaking, Super 8 millimeter, 16 millimeter, and began working in the industry a little bit with WGBH. I learned editing on motion picture stock, not on digital. And to make a long story short, I was able to raise enough of a budget to make this film about the Hiroshima and Nagasaki survivors. And I reached a point, we got the film made. Actually, part of it was shot in Brookline with Brookline residents. But we got the film made, and then we reached a point where we had to edit it. And at that point, it had become digital editing, which I knew nothing about. All I knew was Super 8. So I learned about BATV, now BIG, and I became a member. And they taught me how to edit in digital system. And so I began working there, finally putting the film together. To make a long story short, what became a very intense community effort became, it's like dropping a pebble in a pond, and the waves, the waves of the pebble, they spread way out. And we were able to get the film actually shown not only on BATV, but at the United Nations. And then it spread further. And we showed it in Hiroshima, and in Nagasaki, in Kyoto, Osaka, the Berlin Film Festival, Rio de Janeiro. BATV at that time is spread all over the world. So the community that we know of as a local Brookline community is really a global community. And anyone who has an idea and is able to make a film, tell a story on BIG, that idea will spread out and it will become global. It's a beautiful thing. I work in theater too, And in theater, everyone who works in theater knows that doing theater is an act of love. And doing film is also an act of love once you get involved in it. And Big is an act of love for myself, and I think a lot of people who are actually able to participate. Two things I want to mention. Earlier someone said that Big is the jewel in the crown. Well, every crown is made up of supporting jewels. Otherwise, that one jewel would have no presence. And the supporting jewels at Big have been the heart and soul of what makes it work. And I'm talking about the people who are here today. Ben, who's at that camera, Andrew at another camera, Simus was here earlier. These are the supporting jewels in the crown, and they're highly professional people. They're very helpful and completely devoted to what they do. I commend Comcast for actually supporting Access Community Television. It's a beautiful thing that you do, and I encourage you to continue supporting it. The budgets go up, they go up, they go up, and please make your contribution as high as you can go. Big is worth it, believe me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Carbia Wan, and then Adrian Kerman.
All right, ladies and gents, here goes nothing. I intend to keep this as brief as, say, half the duration of an episode of Twin Peaks. I mean, not that I watch, like, half-hour films. Anyways, here goes nothing. I'm Carbia Wan, and although I'm not a Brookline resident, well, despite that, not only have I been a Big member for about 3 to 4 years off and on, with a bit of a hiatus between 13 and 14, I attended and graduated at the New England Institute of Art back in 2007, all through 2012, with a Bachelor's of Science in Digital Film and Video Production, and I've been tirelessly and rigorously have been honing and evolving my skills and capabilities as not only a filmmaker, but also an actor, a stuntman occasionally, or a martial artist, well, not too much, a costume model, accessory designer, graphic designer, music composer, mostly just chiptunes. The list goes on and on and on. Now, the main reason why I intended this once-in-a-lifetime event, but then again, I'll bet opportunities like this happen more often than that, is not only the 3 key turnarounds that both this glorious town and, of course, Brookline Interactive Group are working towards, namely how important the latter company is to the town and its surrounding towns. Like I said, I'm a Boston resident, formerly Lynn. Not to mention Comcast and Brookline's never-ending support via capital and operating funds, HD programming via Comcast, while eliminating standard definition once and for all, and even program listings. Though I am also an SD producer, considering how outdated that aspect ratio is. But most importantly, how much Big has been impacting me ever since day one, precisely less than a month following my AI graduation. Now, getting down to brass tacks here, although discussing my personal life is pretty much the end-all, be-all, bane of my very existence, I've been growing up and been raised in a middle to low-class family that, although we didn't have much to begin with, we always had our own way. But in my case, though, and take note, they can be very strict at times. In my case, though, now when it comes to deciding what you intend to do with your life, the high school, and beyond point, you intend to do with your life, and that you're left with no other choice but to follow in the footsteps of your closest parent or sibling, to that, and you'll have to excuse my profanity, but here goes. I say it's a complete, total, and utter, you get the drift. In the tradition of one-man loose cannon pros and novices, think John Rambo or Robert Rodriguez. I've gone to every depth and pushed myself far beyond my absolute limits, no matter which field, project, or gig I involve myself with. And above all, ascend myself high above from that muddy, forbidding pit of quicksand that is poverty. For the past year or so, I've been participating in various media-related events, for example, Boston Open Screens, open mic nights, the whole 9 yards, as a means of getting out way more than just my name out there. Every last flowing gallon of sacrifice, self-discipline, effort, dedication, confidence, patience, respect towards not only myself, but to others, despite my innermost conflicts, demons, cons, differences I harbor, the whole 9 yards. Now, another turnaround of my own, and take note, this is my last unrelated personal topic ever, is that there's this disabled school that's HQ'd here, Gateway to be precise. And from what I've heard, if I associate myself with mass rehab, which I did recently, I mean, it's been a while, but other than that, I've been, nothing personal. Anyways, they back me up in terms of the tuition payments, and even better, it's kind of a surefire strategy of marketing my visual ideas, considering that they only work traditionally. None of that digital Photoshop stuff, which I'm more comfortable with aside from like traditional. But anyways, then again, there's always like these artist alleys at various local Comic Cons, anime cons, the whole 9 yards that I've been going to, and I intend to further expand my tradition. Now, getting back on track here, Brookline Interactive Group, formerly BATV, has been a continuing source, and I do mean a continuing source, of technical and research capabilities, especially programming, ever since I first visited there, sometime around like 2010 or 11, during an AI-related event, like prior to my official membership. Nothing personal, but aside from a DIY web series that I've been producing for roughly a year now, and I'm currently in my 3rd season, titled The Hardcore Retro God, which, as my 2 slogans suggest, it's far from your typical old-school gaming review show, and that it puts an all-new, in-depth spinning on retro reviewing like never before. Hence the combined union of elements, information, and of course comedy, banter, humor. While I occasionally or rarely invite special guests. Why I chose to intern at BNN, Boston Neighborhood Network, if you will, somewhere in Roxbury, instead of Big, with profuse apologies to the former mentioned local outlet, is anyone's guess. Despite maintaining a busy schedule and even a tendency to seek out my treasures of success and avarice, like even solo, like a one-man army, I'm not ashamed to point out that I'm doing everything in my absolute highest power to seek out every ounce of guidance and assistance from every or any available individual, no matter who they work for or what they work for. And I'm in more than full agreement with almost everyone that's spoken thus far. That
Please conclude.
All that aside, let's see. I'm in full agreement to all the issues that have been touched upon. And well, I'd like to dedicate this to the Amoroso family if they're watching this. And thanks everyone for your time.
Thank you. Adrian Kerman. And Andrea Johnson is next. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Adrian Kerman, and I live in Brookline with my husband and my 2 twin teenage sons who go to Brookline Public Schools. Kathy asked me to come in today and to tell our story. We have a family story of how we have used Big and how Big has changed our lives. So we've been here about 8 years, but we didn't really know much about Big or Brookline Access, cable access television. I think one day my children were freshmen last year at Brookline High School, and he went to go pick them up. He stumbled into BIG by mistake, ended up with a tour, and came home and said, I'm going to have a sports show live starting next week. So I said, all right. And sure enough, he did. It's called The Grandstanders. It's on Thursday Night Live. My husband didn't know anything about production. He grew up in Massachusetts, so of course he knows everything about sports, particularly Boston sports. He's a crazy fan. So are my sons. And he brought 3 of his friends, and they host this show. Big was very generous in using their time and allowing us access to their equipment so that we can put out this show. They have helped us produce it, they have helped us grow it, they have helped us with every aspect of it. More so than that, I got involved and learned how to do some of the production. I've been behind the camera, I've been in front of the camera, I've been doing production and sound. And my sons have come in and been behind the camera and have learned production, learned how to do the sound. It's become something that we are doing as a family, which, if any of you have teenagers, you know as each year goes on, it's harder and harder to find something that everyone can do together. It's created an interest for my children. One of my sons signed up for an elective in the fall, which is production, which is taught at Big and by Big staff. So my other son wants to do an intern to help his application into college. My husband is having a wonderful, wonderful time. We've had a show every Thursday night, I think except 2 since November. And this has given him a lot of opportunities. He's met a lot of people. We've had OBrien on the show for an hour-long special, and OBrien was an idol of my husband's, is an idol of my husband's. We've had Congressman Joe Kennedy. The third on, we have some other guests coming on. My husband was asked to play a game at Fenway Park, got his own uniform with his name on it, hit from home base, pitched from the mound. Many, many, many different opportunities that have really changed our lives. I built the website for the Grandstanders. I'd never built a website before. I would get studio time at Big, and they would help me, and I learned how to do that. I edited tape, digitally, of course. Didn't know how to do any of that, and have really come far. And I was just home making dinner when my husband came home and said, I found this place called Big and I'm going to have a show. I never expected to broaden my horizons at all. So I just wanted to share that with you. Big has really been a big part of our lives and has really added a lot to it. The access that we have for the education, what comes from having the show. Of course, we'd love to have the Grandstanders listed in your content listings, and we'd love to be on HD. I think it would make the show even greater. So thank you, Big, for giving us the opportunity and the continued opportunity for all of the education opportunities that you're giving us and our children. We thank you, and we hope that you continue to get the funding and additional funding, so not just for our family, but so that every family in Brookline can have access to this type of opportunity. Thank you.
Andrea Johnson and Scott Mark is on deck.
Good evening. I'm Andrea Johnson, and I've been a staff member at the Brookline Community Mental Health Center for 40 years. I'm enthusiastic about speaking at this hearing because I have firsthand knowledge about the important role that Big plays and the impact that Big has had on the Brookline community. Here are 2 examples. A few years ago, I was facilitating a Surviving and Thriving Women's group at the Brookline Community Mental Health Center. This group brings together Brookline women who are interested in learning ways of making life better for themselves and their children and who face significant financial challenges. Toward the end of this 8-meeting series, the group was discussing ideas for community service projects that would impact Brookline in a helpful way. One idea was making a video with members and leaders talking about their Surviving and Thriving group experience in order to inform other women about this opportunity. One member knew of the resources available for such a project through Big, and a successful collaboration resulted in a significant DVD containing important information about surviving and thriving and giving all of us an opportunity to be part of a learning, creating, and producing together. This happened because of Big, a Big volunteer, trained through Big, and using Big equipment. As a result of learning from the Surviving and Thriving members about community services and needs, Women and Girls Thriving in Brookline was created. This is a collaborative project bringing together Brookline organizations and women and girls who are financially disadvantaged in order to work together to create change. Big has been an important player in this community effort. One significant achievement has been the Community Resource Guide. Working with other organizations and with the support of a Spotlight grant from the Brookline Community Foundation, Big has played a leadership role in the Thriving Access and Information Sharing Working Group, which is made up of many Brookline organizations and residents. This group has been able to create a community resource guide, which may be called the Thrive Guide, which will be online and in print soon. Big's programming and training represent the community in terms of the involvement, interests, and concerns of its residents. Big is able to reach people representing a variety of ages, financial resources, and interests. Programming addresses diverse community needs, for example, offerings addressing early childhood, domestic violence, and government meetings. Big is what community and media should be about. A colleague of mine who knows Big's impact through her work with our elderly and family clients at the Brookline Community Mental Health Center said it so well. There's so much strength in hearing people's stories. There's so much power in being in someone's living room. There is such strength in video. Information can reach in and touch you. Big is an important, vital, creative, and significant community resource. We're lucky to have such a well-developed institution that responds to the Brookline community needs and affords us all the opportunity to learn and grow together in the service of making Brookline better. I join with the Brookline Community Mental Health Center in being a strong supporter of Big. We support full funding for Big, an invaluable and unique community contributor.
Thank you. Scott Mark. And Vicki Milstein is up next.
All right, Scott Moore from the Public Schools of Brookline. And I'm here to speak for the full operational and capital funding support for BIG. Since BIG relocated to the top floor of the BHS Unified Arts Building, it has started this partnership, which is a true asset to the schools. That asset, it includes state-of-the-art facilities and staff that has increased our options and courses for the Brookline High School students. Our K-8 students benefit from rich after-school programming. This fall, I think we're scheduled for 14 different after-school programs alone just this coming fall. Besides all of the programming, the staff have been an amazing resource multiple times, calling over to Brookline, BIG now. You always find somebody who's willing to give a helpful hand and provide insight in technical ways that sometimes we just don't have access to. Our collaborations, you've heard many of them tonight. I don't know if Vicki Milstein's here, but the Be Bear Book Club is a popular show. The after-school programming, the race reels, a lot of the things that you'll read about in the people I've spoken to and that you'll read about in the annual report. Just the general community, all the community filming and school events provides a opportunity to get some of these events out to people who wouldn't necessarily attend them otherwise. And one of the things that we're actually working with BIG on right now is planning for a community summit, technology and media summit in October, and we're looking forward to that. A couple things people have spoken to already about the program guide and HD, we echo as well. There are a couple things that always surprise me, where we are so thrilled to have our community events broadcast, but a lot of people report that they don't actually see where they are in the program guide, so it's not as easy to find. And then the HD content, regularly I see the great production stuff that's kind of handed to me on DVD, and yet then when it's broadcast on TV, it's not in HD, and it's a real kind of disservice to the great work that people are doing. And even on the school side, we've been shooting, our kids have been shooting whatever in HD now for multiple years. So to take any kind of school project and then broadcast it in standard def is a little disappointing. So we encourage you I support everyone else in I think those two areas as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Vicki Milstein here? This is a name I'm not going to pronounce right. There you go. I couldn't read it. Alejandro Reyes. Okay. And Dane Chainery is.
Okay. First off, I want to say thank you for giving me.
Why don't you tell us your name pronounced correctly?
Alejandro Relas.
Okay.
So it was
I'm
good.
sorry.
No. Happens all the time. At least you didn't make a Lady Gaga joke. Happens a lot too.
No, I won't do that.
Okay, so first off, thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. My name is Alejandro, and I'm a volunteer at Brookline Interactive Group. And I urge you to support a strong renegotiation with Brookline Cable Company's franchise because I believe BIG plays an important role in the community. As a volunteer at BIG, I conducted member interviews to gain insights to see how residents interact with Brookline Interactive Group and media in general. I came across many stories. I remember a woman telling me about how she used BIG to keep her video making skills sharp as she continued to look for her next job. Or a college student telling me about how they used the equipment, things that they didn't have access to do work on their class projects. Young entrepreneurs making content to promote their local businesses, and people becoming literate in media and getting plugged into a creative community. I think what's great about BIG is that it kind of transcends the physical media center or even the TV channel. It's like an enabler. It empowers. It allows people to play with their interests, develop their passion, and find the purpose. The woman I was talking about, she now has a career making professional films. The college student not only aced her project, she returned to BIG, got an internship, loved it, and when she graduated, she decided to move to New York City to pursue her dreams in media. When I asked her about the impact that BIG had on her life, her words were, it made all the difference. And the young entrepreneur in Brookline, she's taken her business to the next level. And the residents that are young and the not so young, picking up media skills that are becoming more and more essential every day. In our research, I have found that the way people interact with media is changing really fast. But I believe that the need for media literacy will only increase. So to best address these future needs, I believe that BIG needs full operational and capital funding for closed captioning, program listing for BIG, and community channels in HD, because it's going to be very difficult staying relevant tomorrow using yesterday's technology. So again, I urge you to your strong support during the renegotiation process for Brookline Interactive Group, continue high quality community service. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Dane Chainery. And if there's anyone, Dane is the last speaker who signed up, so if there's anyone else, raise your hand who wishes to speak. Okay.
Yeah.
You're up.
Hi, my name is Dane Chainery, and first I'd like to thank the crew that's working here, because that's where some of that funding goes. There are approximately 58,000 residents that live in Brookline, and they're not going to get an opportunity to see this meeting, and BIG provides that opportunity to them, and that's really one of the important things that BIG does. Over the last couple of years, if you look at the recent report, they've done over 400 hours of municipal meetings, 100 hours of community meetings, and 120 hours of local content. And I think those are really some of the important things that BIG does. It's important for people to know what's going on in their community. I have been a producer at BIG way back since they were on Amory Street, and I don't even know if anybody remembers Amory Street, but that's been a long time. I do a LGBT talk show, and when no one else was doing it. So we've had wonderful people coming on to talk about AIDS and how it reflects the community and how people are struggling living at home with the disease. We've done great shows on the LGBT community and gay topics. There is no other show or no other place like BIG to air those kinds of shows. So I urge you to continue to support BIG, definitely in HD. I mean, who doesn't like to see themselves in HD? Okay, there you have it. And the other really important thing is, when you turn on the TV, it's nice to see the listing of when your show is going to come on. So if you could do something about that, that would greatly be appreciated. Please support BIG, support the work they're doing. I think I've covered all my topics here. It's important. It's important to the community. It's important to the producers. It's important to me. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's everyone who has signed up to speak. I have 7 members of the community who also wrote letters of support. Their names are Michelle Cove, McKenna Binka Kozin, Minakshi Garodia, Karen Jacobs, Pam Palmucci, Miriam and John Mocht, who are here tonight, Claudia Del Anno, and I'll give you this list. And notice of tonight's hearing has been duly published in the Brookline tab on July 2nd and 9th. I'll provide a copy for the record. And if there's no further testimony, that concludes this hearing. I'll keep today's hearing open for 21 days in order to receive additional testimony. Interested parties are encouraged to submit written testimony on any renewal-related issue discussed today, or indeed any cable-related issue. And you should send it to the Selectman's office by August 12th, 21 days after this hearing. Town Hall, 333 Washington Street, Brookline 02245. And thank you all. And we're going to be having another hearing on September 16th at 7 p.m. Okay, and that concludes it. Thank you.